let's take a look at our top selections for Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 8 at Laurel Park on Winter Sprint Fest Saturday is the Grade 3 General George Stakes. Let's throw up the field. Some nice sprinters going 7/8 of a mile. Number 2, Funny Guy, 9-5 morning line favorite coming down for New York. For John Terranova, he has run some fast races. He is just a consistent, hearty New York bred looking for his first victory against Open Company, but he's run well against Open Company in the past. Second in the Grade 2 Vosburg last fall.
Yeah, he has held his own against some pretty good horses, Dan. He just had overall a really solid 4-year-old campaign last year. Obviously all of his wins against New York breds, but he acquitted himself pretty well against some better horses.
Let's take a look at the Timeform U.S. pace projector for this year's General George. There's speed. Arthur's Hope's best game is when he gets to go to the front. Lebda can be forwardly placed. Share the Ride and Lakai have tactical speed. But there really aren't any blazers in here, Mike. I think the pace will be fair, but not a barbecue.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't think it has to be necessarily a fast pace. And I do think that's a little bit of an advantage, or at least it could be, Dan, for the 8 Arthur's Hope. I mean, he is a horse. He feels like he really does need the lead to be at his best, but when he gets the lead, he could be pretty dangerous.
And he'll be ridden by one of the most aggressive riders in the region. Alcibiades Cortez likes to run and gun. Remember to visit timeformus.com after scratches are made official. We're expecting the 5 fortunate friends to scratch out of this race. This pace projector will update automatically after scratches. The 1 Lakai became trainer Damon Dilla DeVico's first graded stakes winner when he took the DeFrancis Memorial back on October the 3rd. Now, he's been the beaten favorite in his last 3 races. You'll note the short comment in the fire plug. It said heels clipped early. I don't think it seemed to affect him too much. He got clipped from behind. He just seemed a little bit flat in that race.
I agree. I felt like he was pretty flat in there. Wasn't thrilled with that performance. And the other interesting thing about the short comment, Dan, is you're right. He's the one who got clipped. The horse that clipped his heels was Wendell Fong. And that horse, basically took a pretty bad stumble when he did that and still won the race. I don't know. I didn't like this horse's last race. You mentioned he's lost 3 straight as the favorite since winning by the DeFrancis by a nose. He also lost the 3 starts before the DeFrancis as the favorite. He's not in his, the best form of his career right now.
Let's watch Funny Guy. He was the beaten favorite last time out against fellow New York breds in the Say Florida Sandy Stakes. We see him on the outside here, and he's just simply going to be run down by Our Last Buck. Now, I was able to talk to John Terranova over the last couple of weeks, and he said that Funny Guy is just a big, heavy horse that didn't seem to like the deep, tiring surfaces at Aqueduct this winter. He said he won the New York Stallion Stakes 2 starts back despite the surface.
Well, maybe that's the case, Dan. This wasn't right here. That's not his best performance, obviously. It didn't really look like he had much of an excuse. Our Last Buck, however, is a horse who's been in very, very good form for a long time. He had a really good year in 2020, and he carried it into his first start this year. So it's not, a terrible loss. It just wasn't Funny Guy's best race. His effort 2 back, actually, I thought was very good, Dan. That was a slow pace that he closed down.
Lebda was one of the better 3-year-olds in the region last year, reeling off wins in the Miracle Wood and the private terms. Then these connections got really adventurous. They ran him in the Ohio Derby and the Haskell. Not only was the competition too steep, but the distance too long in those races. I like the fact that he got a break for most of the fall and into the winter. This is now his 3rd start back. His 3rd start is a gelding. Let's watch Lebda's most recent race in the... Actually, no, let's talk about Lebda's most recent race in the fire plug. He ran an okay 3rd. He showed improved speed. I think 6 is too sharp for him. I think 7/8 of a mile is good for Lebda. I like his tactical speed. I want him sitting off of Arthur's Hope.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that stuff, Dan. This horse, I think, has enough potential to beat a field like this one. He's 3rd off the layoff now, and I do think a little bit more distance maybe helps him more than it helps some of the others.
Number 4 is Majestic Dunhill. This horse has run well at Laurel Park, 2nd in the General George back in 2019. Winner of the City of Laurel, going 7/8 of a mile the year before. Majestic Dunhill was a 1-run closer earlier in his career. He has shown better tactical speed in his last few starts, including a victory in the Bold Ruler handicap 3 starts back. The Fall Highway 2 back, he just completely missed the break, and that hurt his chances immensely, and he was overmatched last time out against Sleepy Eyes Todd and the Mr. Prospector.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could look at him that way for sure. Just say his last race was too tough for him. It was still a pretty disappointing performance. I mean, he just never picked his feet up and didn't show speed again. The race two back, the fall highway, I think he did have something of an excuse there because you're right. He was unprepared for the start. He missed it. But once again, he did not run after that. So his last two races, I think you have to be concerned about. A little bit of a layoff. Maybe you'll get him to turn around again because the two starts prior to that, including the Bold Ruler, very surprising tactical speed from this horse, which he never had before.
All of his dirt wins have come on wet track, something to consider if this racetrack retains some of the moisture from earlier in the week. We're expecting Fortunate Friends to scratch. The sixes Share the Ride. Share the Ride is a graded stakes winner who earned 3 triple-digit Buyer's speed figures last year. He ran in the Fire Plug 2 starts back, Share the Ride, and I thought that race, he wore a bar shoe. He got a decent trip. He surged to the front. He looked like he was on his way to victory when Dauphin was able to run him down. They took the bar shoe off of the toboggan. The race we're going to see right now, he's the beaten favorite. This is a horse, Mike, that used to have speed. And for some reason, they've kept him off of the pace, and I think that hurt him in this race.
It did. This race, I didn't even necessarily feel like they tried to rate him. And in some of his prior races, I felt like they were rating him purposely. I don't know if that was the case here. He's never going to be able to get involved in this race after the two horses who did show speed run 1-2 in here. Listen, Dan, I can't knock this horse's form. They claimed him for 16,000. They obviously have really improved him. And this is a race that he can win. I'm just not that much of a fan of this horse. If he's going to be around that 3-1 morning line, I'm looking elsewhere.
He will run without the bar shoe again. And I wonder if the extra week due to the weather-related delay works in his favor because they've been racing him a lot. This will still be his third race in a month. Up next is the 7 Informative. I've always liked Informative. He hasn't panned out the way I had hoped. He's kind of a one-run closer, and he's probably not the best closer in this race. Plus, like Majestic Dunhill and a couple of others in here, he's at his best on a wet track.
Yeah, that's probably true. I think we kind of look at him the same way. He's the kind of horse who had a really big price. I would like to try to get in there somewhere and hope he catches a pace to run at. I just don't know if he's good enough, Dan. He's pretty hard to make a case for.
The runner-up from his most recent race came back to run second in a 35,000 optional claimer with an 86 buyer. Arthur's Hope is fast, and we know he fits with these kind of horses. He wired Lacaille over course and distance back on July the 25th. And while he's done well on fast dirt in the past, he also really likes it wet. He was part of the pace picture last time out in the Fire Plug, but actually here, he might be able to get loose.
Yeah, and I think that could make a big difference for him. Again, I feel like he's the kind of horse he can run, without the lead, but he has to be part of the pace. He's got to be up close, and I feel like he's even, more dangerous if somehow he can shake loose early in this race. He's run some pretty big races in the past and some fast ones as well. I don't love him, but at a big price, I want to use this horse.
The 9 Chilean Charge is trained by one of the most underrated horsemen on the circuit in Miguel Vera. This horse has won 2 out of his last 3 starts, and I was taken by his most recent start, albeit over a muddy track at Parks. This was his race to kick off his 5-year-old campaign. There wasn't a lot of hitting going on in here, Mike, and Chilean Charge at the 3/16 pole has a lot of work to do. He still has to pass 3 horses, and once he switched over to his right lead, he did just that.
Yeah, I liked this win from him. Obviously, he's stepping up in class for this, but I thought he ran well in here. He won also at Parks 3 starts back with a better pace to run at, and I thought he ran well that day. In between those two, Dan, when they brought him to New York, listen, he just caught a speed favoring track that day, and he really couldn't make an impact, but he ran a lot better than it looks that day. I like this horse. I actually feel like this horse is pretty good. He's going to be a price in here. He's going to be off the pace, but he doesn't have to be outrun. I think there's a lot to like about him at a price.
Tattooed, likely coming from the back of the pack, as he did last time out, going a 1-turn mile against Maryland breds in the Jennings. He got a great ride from Angel Cruz. We turn into the stretch here. This pace is starting to fall apart right now. And you see Angel trying to angle to the outside in the white nose band. Well, that didn't work out. So now he's going to angle the split horses here. And Tattooed is in the midst of his run, and he's just going to find every hole to his liking, and he's going to get up to win this race by a neck over a couple of next out winners. Now, I think the trip and the pace scenario worked out for him. Trainer Tim keeps on record. He says this horse only has about a 1/4 of a mile run, so they got to time it just right.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can do it, and if he can take a little bit of a step forward here. Did catch all the gaps there to get the job done last time, but the reality is, Dan, the last 4 races that this horse has run are the best 4 races of his career, so they're going to step up at the right time here.
Top pick time for the Grade 3 General George Stakes. You're going with Chilean Charge, Mike. Love the way he flew down the track. He's run in some stakes races in the past. I think the connections are finally figuring out. He is a dirt sprinter.
Yeah, I think that might be right. I'm interested in this horse, Dan, especially if the morning line is close to right. I think he's probably value where they have him right now. I think this horse is pretty good. Last time he ran at Laurel, it was a while ago, but he ran a big race that day.
I like the way the race shape might set up for Lebda. I like the fact that he could be sitting off of Arthur's Hope, a horse that might not be in the strongest form right now. I like Lebda third off the layoff, getting back out to 7 furlongs. He should be in the thick of things when they turn into the stretch. Mike's going 9-2-4-8. I'm going 3-1-6-9. We both respect Funny Guy coming down from New York for John Terranova in the General George.